In this video, we're talking velocity. We're going to walk through how to determine and estimate how many units you think you can realistically sell on a prospective ASIN and how different buy box rotations and different listing setups really affect that estimate and also your purchasing decisions. But with that being said, if we haven't met, my name is Garrett. I'm a 7-figure Amazon seller showing you how you can make a living off of Amazon as well. So stick around, let's hop onto my screen and check it out. One of the major components of really analyzing a prospective buy and doing that deep dive product research is arriving at an estimate of how many sales of a particular ASIN you can expect, right? Over the course of a month, how many sales am I going to earn on a specific product, right? That's what that's one of the major conclusions we're trying to arrive at every time we're looking into buying a product. And in regards to Amazon, the big indicator of velocity is sales rank, right? We know this. But what a lot of the softwares do for us is correlate a sales rank to an estimated number of sales, which is very helpful when we're going through our product analysis. And so for this specific product, right, we could see the 4,000 sales rank correlates to about 1,500 estimated sales. But the key note for this specific ASIN in all ASINs is that this specific estimated sales doesn't necessarily correlate to how many sales we can expect, right? That's accumulation of all the sellers on this listing. How many sales are they coming together to share? And right, so in order to kind of dissect and really get to a granular perspective of how many we can expect, how many sales we can expect, we need to do a little more of a deep dive, a little more research to arrive at that estimate. And so what we are going to do is really establish how many competitive sellers are on this specific listing, right? Because we can agree that once we have the entire piece of the pie, which in this case is that 1,500, if we just know how many sectors, how many sellers are sharing those sales, then we arrive at how many sales we can expect if we join the listing, right? And so Seller App gives us the amount of competitive sellers on this particular listing. And what we mean by competitive sellers is any Amazon seller that is, about 5 or 10 percentage points above or below the current buy box. So in this case, the current buy box is 702. We're going to really consider anyone, below or down towards like 5 or 6 up to like 8 or 9 as a competitive seller. So in this case, we'll really consider these competitive sellers, right? 1, 2, 3, these 3 sellers, competitive sellers. And if we came on the listing, that would be 4, right? So 4 competitive sellers would be on this listing if we came to take part, right? So all we're doing from that point on, once we have that number of competitive sellers, we're just going to divide, right? We're going to divide 1,500 by what would be 4 competitive sellers. And then that's going to give us approximately 375, 400 sales that would be divided across all those competitive sellers. That would be what we would expect to sell if we came on this listing. Now, there's one caveat, right? Anytime we're looking into those estimated sales, we want to be on the lookout for anyone in the buy box that is a major holder, right? So we're not going to get caught up in a couple percentage points difference. Even this 35% isn't super worrisome. What we're really looking for is someone who owns like 50, 60, 70% of the buy box share, right? Because then that means we can't really necessarily evenly distribute these sales across the competitive sellers, right? We have data, we have evidence that one seller is not receiving an even share. It's significantly more than that, right? But 35% is about 30% of, a third or a fourth of estimated sales. So we're not really going to consider that, right? So we can safely assume that if we came onto this listing, we're going to sit somewhere between that 300 or 400 monthly estimated sales. Then it's just a matter of, okay, how much can I purchase this product for? And then at that point, does the margin make sense with the velocity that we now have calculated if this product is going to make sense for our business? This is one type of product where there's a listing, there's one variation, one style, one quality of product on the listing, and that's easy, right? That analysis is pretty straightforward. The second type of product on Amazon is when there is a listing, however, there are different variations within that listing, different sizes, colors, styles, whatever the case may be, there's different variations within the listing. And so the key distinction is we go through a lot of the same process, right? We start with this estimated sales at 300, 3,000, 300, whatever that case may be. But then we have to evaluate and we have to do the diversification between what is the velocity across all these different styles, right? Because if we're talking about shoes, we all agree that a size 14 doesn't sell the same as a size 8 and doesn't sell the same as a size 10 or 11. So we have to identify how much relative velocity each of the different styles on the variation listing that we're looking at are earning to account for that in our estimation of how many sales we could expect. right? So we start with the same number, right? The 3,000 sales rank correlates to the 3,000, about 3,300 estimated sales. But the step that's unique to these listings are we have to go into this variation tab and kind of piece together how many sales are going to a specific variation. How we do that is we use this column right here. So keep it gives us pretty cool information in terms of out of the entire piece of the pie, out of the entire pie, how many ratings are going to a specific size. And what we can then do, our hypothesis is if for this specific variation, if 10% of ratings, of all the ratings that are going to this entire listing, 10% of the ratings are going to this medium black sweater, then we can then hypothesize, and our theory is that about 10% of sales are also going to go to this black, white, medium. And so that's the calculation, right? So we start with this 3,300, and all we're going to do is multiply it by whatever variation is in question. If it's this medium, it's 10%. If it's this extra large, we'd use 7%. Whatever the percentage of ratings that are going to that variation is, we're going to use that percentage to estimate relative velocity across all the different sizes, colors, whatever variation you're looking at. So if we're concerned with this white medium or black and white medium, we're just going to take that same 3,300. Obviously, I don't need a calculator, but multiply it by 0.10 is about 300, 330 sales we're going to estimate are going to this black medium. And now we pick up where we left off on the last example, right? We're going to go into this specific variation. Now we have about 300 or 400 sales we know are going to this variation each and every month. Now let's go into the same analysis. How many competitive sellers are those sales being shared with? Right, so we can scroll down on seller, we could also do it in Keepa. We're going to do the same evaluation. How many competitive sellers are there? And now in this case, there's quite a few more, right? So we'll consider all these guys about 10% below or above or below the current buy box. Current buy box is 71. So we'll really consider everyone really up to this point right here, probably somewhere around here, 20-ish competitive sellers. So if we take the 30 sales that we're going to expect to go into this variation and divide it by 3,300 divided by 20, about 15, 20 sales that we could expect if we came on this listing and priced competitively, obviously with all the other competitive offers, right? And so that is the missing piece, right? We have to do that analysis and really analyze which specific sizes, colors, etc., are earning different parts of the portion of the pie. But there's also a key point, right? And so obviously all the different variations are going to earn different amounts of sales, but also each of the variations are also going to earn and just warrant different levels of competition, right? And so this black, white, medium, because it has the most variation, or the most sales, probably has the most competition. So what you'll start to see as we start kind of scroll down, obviously each variation has different price points, has different product markets, but they also have different competition levels, right? So if this navy white large is earning obviously less sales, but it also has a lot less competition. Well, if 300 sales is going to this top variation, and that's being split across 20 competitive sellers, but only 5% is going to this, or 3% is going to the navy medium, but it's only being split across 4 or 5 sellers. Well, I'd rather go into the medium that has a lot less competition, granted less overall sales, but the piece of the pie that I would expect when I come onto the listing would be greater. And so that's really the key. It's a correlation between how many sales are going to that variation in comparison to how many sellers are competing for that piece of the pie in relation to obviously the product market and things like that, right? But that's really the entire component of estimating sales is start with the estimated number of sales that comes from the sales rank, dive into the competitive sellers, how many are being split, and then obviously keep in mind if there's variation, we have to do that analysis. And also it's just also good to really consider if there's any major holders of the buy box, because that's going to be a red flag and really going to alter that calculation that we went through. But with that being said, guys, that's really all we had for this video. Hope you find value. If you did, please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to our channel. It definitely helps us out, helps to grow the channel, get the information to more people. But we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.